Hey everyone, I'm back. So now, just want to continue where we left off. It was actually a couple of days ago. I kind of put it down. I did a few bug fixes, but back to exactly where we left off. Because we have the agent doc here, the document. I think I was on step 3. So, it also kind of happened that I ran into issues as well with existence lang, and also basically gain alignment with how existence lang should be applied. And I had to do a little bit back and forth with the agents to correct it a little bit. And I'll get into that real soon. But so now I think that this kind of session will kind of continue with Agent Doc. We'll get this release out with how, hopefully we can get we'll get existence lang applied correctly, get any modification to existence lang done at whatever we need to as well, and hopefully we can get around to the evals and starting to run evals. But because I also create a crate for an eval bench, but I haven't really, I need to iterate on it a bit more. So and these evals will be more on the module level, more like on primitives, and kind of working bottom up rather than top down. So, anyways, let's continue. So, existence CLI installability. Okay, so we need to be able to install it. So we have had note that we've had some releases. I think like a couple patch releases. But okay, so the existence scale already has a binary resolution check path. Okay, so we already have a path. No cargo publish to create IO. This would make cargo install letting work anywhere. We have cargo install existence though, so I think maybe if I call it, I'm calling it existence lang to kind of distinguish it from existence, but because existence lang is like obviously software, but the package name is called existence, so I don't know if that's a mistake or not. It certainly does have ambiguity with the term existence and the package existence, versus existence lang would have no ambiguities. So there may be a rename in order of the package. I'm not sure yet. Let's just see how it goes. All right, so excuse me. All right, no pre-built binaries. Yeah, we should have pre-built binaries. Let's add Linux, OS X, and Windows binaries along with dash, or I should say curl pipe to shell install command. All right, so skillmd is bundled in agent loop. Yes. Existence. The existence crate should have a skill, and I believe it does. I believe it does. So yes, it does. So let me see if it does. So we have existence, source. Okay. I could call it exist. Yeah, that's a good. Maybe this will be a good way of distinguishing, because that's not used anywhere. But it's just sort of like a short form of existence lang. So cool. So I will refer to the existence crate as exists, since it has an alias to the CLI. So since it has an exists alias to the CLI. Okay. So we have existence. I'm not exactly sure how skill gets installed. Let me check with agent doc. Let's see. Manage the bundled skill RS. Okay, so it's in skill RS. Okay, so we have a skill MD in back a directory. Okay, so we have a skill over here, but we don't have a skill over here. So I think what we should do then is we should have, I should probably move a lot of this out into existence MD as well, because now I'm conflating development with agent doc with existence now. Should have a MD that is installed with when that is installable using I think it's some agent doc skill, I think. Yeah. Skill install. Just like, I guess vis-a-vis, well, just like agent doc skill install. All right. Should existence CLI update agents MD and claude-MD in the host system? This is interesting design question. Options: CLI manages ontology deployment. Existence deploy writes updates the ontology section in claude-MD and copies skill-MD to the project. Yeah, so we should definitely do skill-MD. Yeah, I don't like the coupling though. That's a good point. CLI generates user deploys. That's not a bad idea. But outputs the ontology table, universal applicability principle, and paste it. It's decoupled but manual. And skill handles deployment, existence install. Yeah, so I think that's kind of what I'm going for. Via the skill, copies skill, stays in the claude-code ecosystem, requires claude-code running. All right, so I guess that is unfortunate, is that I am using claude-code, and that of course heavily influences how things are deployed. You know, I'm working on Linux, I'm using JetBrains. It's not exactly a high percentage of people with this exact, you know, with this type of setup. It's probably less than 5%, I would say. So this is definitely something I need to really pay attention to and improve on myself. I mean, I'm still rapidly iterating features for myself, really, and improving on that level. But at some point, I need to shift it over and worry about deployment, and because that's really important. But I think it's a solvable problem. It's just a matter of, once I have the primitives out, I can switch it over. So I would say I'm currently, I'm currently using Linux, JetBrains, and Claude. I want to support other agent harnesses, so I would say existence install can use Claude's layout by default. Oh, well, maybe if it can support Claude, or can support Claude for now. In the future, it would be great to support other harnesses, such as Codex, Pi, OpenCode, etc. Can we auto detect? And this might actually be its own package. Is there an existing crate that detects and installs based on the running agent harness, or based on the agent harness in a directory? Okay. It detects which agent harness is working in a directory and installs accordingly. Installs context files accordingly. Okay. So this seems like, okay, so this seems like it, so can we auto detect and install the files, the context files accordingly? Can we auto detect which agent, like, I'm just gonna move kind of this phrase up there here. So can we auto detect which agent harness is working in a directory and install the context files accordingly? It seems like this is this seems like this behavior should be in a separate crate. Is there an existing crate that does this? Or should we create a new crate? All right, so protocol involves interfaces, so good distinction. So authored protocol MD. Okay, so I think that this, where's protocol MD? It's in my philosophy. So I need to, the philosophy I wrote is personal. So the Bita philosophy repo is my personal philosophy repo. This is separate from the existence laying repos. Let me see what I have for existence laying. I have the existence laying ontology. Okay. So I think we should favor the existence laying ontology. That's good. I need to start using the right term. Repo. All of the fundamental work, all the fundamental ontology work should be done within existence laying ontology. B-Takita philosophy should depend on, I'm just going to make my thing depend on existence laying ontology. All right. So we have an interface, which is the boundary of the single system. It's API, ABI, surface. The protocol involves the interfaces of multiple systems, the rules governing how they communicate through their respective interfaces. Okay. So example, the ND JSON over Unix socket. What is that? What is ND JSON? Oh, right, this thing. Yeah, I think this is what, yeah. So this is how we can, I think, do like diffs and whatnot. I believe delimiting JSON in stream protocols. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's for streaming. Okay, right. Right. Okay, got it. So, because that's what we're using. We're using the stream interface. Okay. So we cross-linked those and vice versa. Okay, so I think hopefully it gets the point. What I'm starting to do now is I want to dig deeper. I want to always get meta. As whenever Claude makes a mistake or there's some sort of misalignment, I'm trying to also be getting more meta. So meta. Why did you decide to write into the Takita philosophy when a more general existence laying ontology is available as a submodule? I think that part of the reason is that I didn't explicitly make Takita philosophy a child of existence laying ontology. I think it started off with Takita philosophy. This is older, and then I kind of extracted out existence laying ontology. But we should be a child of existence laying ontology now. Did you know about that? Okay, so now we had this. I'm gonna go. I had a great conversation, John Castle reached out to me. He's got a lot of good stuff as far as a lot of his research, and he's also into permaculture, which is pretty awesome. So we have like kind of similar interests. He reached out to me. He has a lot of stuff on, like modeling, statistical representation, and him and I seem to agree a lot on sort of being able to define unknowns. So I kind of did a deep dive into it, and we have the Noumena phenomena and the Pneuma. So I know that like Kant said, okay, the Noumena and phenomena, those are like the distinctions, the two like the flip sides of the coin were excuse me, Noumena. I don't know if it's Noumena or Noumena. Excuse me. Let me see how it's pronounced. How do you pronounce it? Noumenon. Noumenon. Noumena. Okay. Noumenon. Okay, so Pneuma. So the Noumena, and phenomena and Pneuma. Okay. So yeah, Kant said Noumena and phenomena. So the Noumena is, I'm going to paraphrase this pretty heavily, but it's sort of like the things that you cannot know of an entity. And the phenomena is what you can know and what you can measure effectively. So I was kind of iterating on this, and we really got kind of heavy into, because I wanted to tell him about existence Lang and how it, is similar to his work, in some ways, well, existence Lang can model everything, basically. So that's what it's designed to do, but it's sort of a way of representing it. And one of the things, though, is I have to really understand what is noumena and what is new phenomena. And also I added Pneuma in there because Pneuma is sort of the entirety of both the noumena and phenomena. So it's the known and the unknown. And I'm just calling it the Pneuma of an entity. And this is kind of like, okay, so I had a little comparison here. So the Pneuma and phenomena, this map, okay, so this is my initial, like, I was thinking, okay, well, I want the Pneuma and phenomena, but really I need to have all three of them because they're three different pieces, but the Pneuma kind of encompasses both the Noumena and phenomena. So as you see here, the Pneuma is the totality, both the known and unknown, the seen and unseen in Stoic terms, the vital breath pervading all of existence in existence Lang terms, existence itself, the universal set including itself. The Noumena is the unseen aspects of reality, what exists but is not yet expressed as phenomena. So here's a little bit of a distinction that Claude really seems to really want us to go towards, and I think I agree, which is, and here's why. So, okay, I'm going to finish this. The aspects of an entity that are real but not currently attended to or abstracted. So, I think with Kant, he kind of described Noumena as being the things you cannot know. So the things you'll never know, essentially. But in existence Lang, it seems like we're emerging towards Noumena as meaning in any snapshot, contextual snapshot, the unknown aspects of the entity. And that doesn't mean it cannot be known. It can be known. Some of it maybe can be known, but some of it may not be known. May be unknowable, truly unknowable. So we don't really seem to make that distinction, and I don't really know if that is an important distinction or not. It's I guess you do have your known unknowns and your unknown unknowns, and the known unknowns, well, so that's one distinction, but this distinction is what unknowns that are knowable and unknowns that are not not knowable. That's like another set of distinctions, and you may be able to know about some of them in either of those two categories, and you may not know about some of those two in each of the two categories. So it's like a quadrant. It looks like of 4 different states here, according to those 2 dimensions. But yeah, so what we are able to record or talk about or abstract is the phenomena. So the phenomena is the seen and expressible, what we observe, abstract, and communicate, the portion of Pneuma that has been brought into expression. Okay. So this means things that can be, we can have like we can talk about in a qualitative sense, but also we can quantify it with numbers. And I think a good question is also like, speaking of numerical analysis, principal component analysis. That is measurable, but we don't necessarily know what we're measuring other than some dimensionality of the system. So, like in a case of PCA, what does that mean? Is it act because it actually is acting on, I would say, the abstractions, it's acting on the phenomena of an entity. That because those are like the measurements, and that's where we find the principal component analysis, and we find patterns on the phenomena of an entity, numerical patterns, according to the different dimensionalities that we are measuring. But then it's like, does that necessarily mean it is phenomena of the original entity, or is that just the phenomena of the entity? So it's like a hop, the phenomena of the entity. So the phenomena of the Pneuma of the entity, of the Pneuma, phenomena of the Pneuma. So, um, it could be one. It could go both ways. Maybe there is truly something to that pattern, and we can eventually find out what that is. Maybe we don't find out what that is, but it's still something that is truly a phenomena of the entity, the original entity, perhaps. It's not just a ghost in the number that comes from the numbers. But then it could also be something that, ultimately we are able to point to. And there's actually some interesting, there's a controversial paper by Maria Zarkova about the sun. And she was detecting how it wobbles. And in her paper, and this actually got posted in Nature, and in her paper, it actually, so it has this trifoil like pattern. Here, I'll look up trifoil, and it's kind of like it's like a it's like a it's like a three it's like a yeah like a clover, like a 3-leaf clover, but it's like a orbit, a trefoil. Sorry, I said trifoil, trefoil. So the sun kind of wobbles for the most part in this trefoil pattern, and notice that it is pretty big with symbolism too, um, both Christian and pagan. Um, but there are periods where the sun gets into a chaotic state, and there was a lot of like debate about the barycenter versus like, and this was kind of like my weird thing, which is you had the barycenter of the solar system, and you have this where the sun is located, which is not necessarily the barycenter. In fact, the sun probably is not in the barycenter in any particular moment, and the barycenter is basically the center of mass of the solar system, essentially. So that's where really everything orbits around, is the barycenter. So the sun itself is orbiting kind of around the barycenter as well, but its orbit is somewhat erratic. It's like a trefoil. It's like a like a trefoil shape, a path for the most part, and then there are periods of like, I don't know, 50 or 100 or some amount of years where it's a chaotic orbit that we don't really know. Like it just is chaotic, and then it gets back into the trefoil orbit. So she used principal component analysis in her paper. Let me see if I can pull it up. Maria Zarkova, and then let me see, Nature. It's probably in her Wikipedia. No, it's not the heartbeat of the sun. This was a cool paper too, the heartbeat of the sun. But Oh, Valentina Zarkova. I was saying Maria. Valentina Zarkova. Thank you. um, so, okay. I think this is it right here. Oscillations of the baseline of solar magnetic field and solar irradiance. Okay, so this one, it got published, and then there was complaints about it, and then they retracted it. And I actually argued to not retract it. I mean, I'm not a scientist or anything, so I mean, I lost, but it just seemed like some of the arguments against it were obviously contradictory, and I know that it was a weird discussion, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I want to focus on is she used the principal component analysis to find patterns in the sun, and I think that her premise, I have to remember this, but she had like a way of she's pretty good at predicting the solar cycles, but she had something about the distance, and she kind of inferred that from her principal component analysis. She inferred how the sun orbited around the barycenter, and based off of I think she used proxy data, but she essentially used principal component analysis. Okay, so here's the orbit that she kind of predicted, and she also measured like the distance and all that, and there was a lot of debate around that. But I think that whether or not it's real, whether or not her theory or whatever she came conclusions that she opened up as possibility. I mean, I think she opened up possibilities, and I think there was also kind of a maybe a misunderstanding as well, which is she just gave her data and really kind of presented it as a possibility of further exploration, which I think was pretty good. But then it kind of hits upon it like conflicts. The possibilities are that it conflicts with conventional maybe modeling of the solar system, and that kind of causes some tension and conflict. But so that's another matter. But what kind of, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that the fact is she used principal component analysis, which is just a pure mathematical analysis, but found some anomalies with it, which seemed to indicate that the sun and the earth had certain distances from each other, and they vary over time. They based off and she thinks it's largely due to the sun's wobble and how it gets chaotic and whatever. And but I think that a lot of people seem to think that the sun and the earth is constant. The distance is constant, but personally, I don't really even see how that's even possible, because by definition, because the barycenter is not the sun, the center of the sun. The barycenter, is influenced by the other planets. And then the sun also wobbles too. So, and then the Earth's orbit changes as well. So I guess the other question is, does all the orbits change based off of the barycenter too? Which I seem to think that yes, because of gravity and also other forces that might occur too. But let's say gravity, obviously is probably the dominant force in these cases. But if the barycenter is changing, does that mean that the orbits are also kind of fluctuating off of the barycenter as well? The barycenter's changes as well. So this is kind of like a very complicated model, probably to predict and to understand, because we are not really measuring a lot of a lot of our measurements don't go back very far, first of all. So in a lot of these processes can take hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of years, some of these cycles. So it's very difficult to really come to any conclusion yet, because we just do not have the fidelity of data that we need to really even have one cycle in a lot of cases. And you know, we don't even know if these cycles are like monotonic or like just like completely like constant, or if they shift. And you know, cycles in nature tend to shift. They're not always like the same, you know, amplitude sinusoidal wave. You know, they often move around. They often shift a lot. So anyways, the phenomena of the data that she was measuring kind of guided her to certain conclusions. Kind of guided her to certain conclusions. Oops. And um, the phenomena of the phenomena of the data guided her to certain conclusions. And yeah. So yeah, so that's that's yeah. That is you know, and people disagree with that. So, you know, people have like pre um conceived notions almost from their experience too, but it's difficult to have that be with full like confidence that you are 100% right, because nobody's even seen a full cycle. And yes, we do have proxy data, but you know, there's a lot of unknowns within that proxy data too. You know, there's drift between the real phenomena, you know, the what really happened, and you know, because it's really phenomena again. It's at least one level of indirection, if not more levels of indirection, and that could very well create drift between what really happened and the data that happened, you know, and the sort of the side effects and the measurements of the side effects, and maybe there's other measurements of the measurements of the side effects, and maybe that's thrown into some sort of quantization algorithm perhaps, and that is yet another side effect. So that these are all things that you know, we need to be have space for, you know, in as possibilities. So that's kind of what I was kind of getting to as well, which is with the Pneuma. And the Pneuma is sort of the all-encompassing totality, you know, the universal set, I mean, of, well, not of existence, but the universal set of the entity, which is all of its constituent pieces, as well as the entity itself, and as well as the phenomena and the noumena of that entity as well. So the known and the unknown, and the measurements associated, you know, maybe, you know, the measurements themselves are a separate entity, but you know, the what is definable and measurable, basically. So and yeah, you obviously have linkages between the data sets that measure the noumena of the entity as well. So that's, and then we kind of get into precision as well. So we have vague precision and precise precision, and that's something I was exploring. So vagueness allows for a larger possibility space than very precise language, and my goal is 100% accuracy. So I'm willing to be more vague to be accurate rather than being precise and inaccurate. And the precise inaccuracy is the confidently wrong problem. So it's like you can be very precise and you can be confidently wrong in the sense of you're just way off and way outside the box of, you're outside of the Pneuma, and you're just contradictory basically. Or you could be like scoped in onto a particular aspect of a truth into the Pneuma, but you can have a very narrow scope in the Pneuma, and the applicability of the assertion of the precise assertion you might be making may not be applicable in all contexts relating to that entity. So, like, let's say I have a bad day and I'm angry. You know, um, you see me, I'm like upset at something, and then you make the assertion that Brian is a very angry person. But you really just saw me for a minute, out of my whole life, and that, but and yes, during that moment, that is true. I was an angry person, but um, making that assertion about me, is not necessarily accurate from a totality standpoint, or even any like, even if it's a positive thing or whatever. It's like all that is very it's very narrow. It's narrowing of the scope of assertion about anybody or of anything. So this is where vagueness can be used, and this is why you use abstract language. So a vague precision. Okay, so an abstraction with the full possibility space of the express system. It's still an abstraction, a formalized expression, but it encompasses the widest possibility space. It also it also encompasses the raw Pneuma, even if the Noumena is unabstractable. Okay, I don't know if I have a, maybe I have like a later definition. Okay, this one happened. This was like the next revision, so I'm gonna use this one instead. So a vague precision is it encompasses the raw Pneuma, the full possibility space, including structurally unabstractable Noumena. The abstraction is honest about what it contains, both the expressible and the inexpressible. It doesn't claim to have captured the Noumena. It acknowledges that they're within the scope. So it's kind of like the unknown unknowns, basically. So, and then we have precise precision, narrows the possibility space, but may still contain Noumena, both kinds, which is the abstractable and unabstractable. It contains less Noumena than vague precision because narrowing the possibility space excludes more of the unknown. I would say unknown too. More of the known and unknown. But some structurally unabstractable aspects may persist at any level of precision. Yeah, so this is kind of like even though you're narrowing this something, I'm not necessarily saying that this is always true, but a lot of times there's still unknowns in there. There's still some sort of essence that is unabstractable, and maybe it's like a number. Let's say we reduce something to a number. There might be some interesting things with number theory that might happen to play into this somehow. I don't know. I mean, I'm just, maybe not. Maybe like if we can reduce everything to one, I think we understand what the number one is pretty well, but maybe not. Maybe there are some aspects to the number one which are not yet fully fully abstracted yet, or is even abstractable. So, all right. So the ontology doesn't claim to abstract the unabstractable. It acknowledges that the Pneuma contains aspects that no abstraction can fully capture, and that's part of the accurate description. An accurate abstraction includes the acknowledgement of its own limits. Okay. So the last point is important. Accuracy in existence laying includes knowing what you can't express. A vague definition that honestly encompasses the unabstractable is more accurate than a precise definition that pretends it has captured everything. Yes. So sometimes you can define abstractions as like by definition you are capturing everything. So like real numbers, for example, like one or let's say you have a set of numbers from 1 to 10. If you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 in your set, you have the complete set. And the what the universal set is as well. It's all um, of the numbers, all possible sets of the number, including you know the set itself, the universal set itself. So um, so by definition, especially like theoretical systems and abstract systems, you can capture everything, but essentially you're going to try to map it to real phenomena, to the you're trying to map it to the Pneuma of an entity, and that's where the mapping between the abstract and I guess the real is sometimes you're not always able to do that. Actually, probably a lot of the time you're not able to do that. So, and this is like happens with systems that have emerging complexity, infinite systems as well. Yeah, maybe you can have the mathematical equation, but you're not going to capture all the information because it's infinite. You can derive what that information is, but that requires computation and context. So, and that's how like cryptography works essentially too. And if you see a cryptographically signed piece of data, then you don't really know how to unencrypt it unless you have the key and the algorithm. So that's maybe an analogy. I don't know if it's a foolproof analogy there, but it seems like it's an analogy. So I'm just kind of yeah. So anyways, I think we're good. So yeah, this is just kind of like my responses. I iterate a lot of my responses, and even though yes, I am using AI to respond in a lot of my correspondence, I do like to spend a good amount of time iterating on it to fully express myself and to like explore things, because yeah, and this is kind of where I think also the aspect of alignment comes in, human agent alignment, is that agents are a great tool to help us express more things and to help us explore thoughts and to go down rabbit holes and to really get feedback on our ideas. But without the alignment, things are gonna mean different things. So especially so alignment on a ontological basis is important, I feel like. And just because we might even agree with all the words, with all the phenomena, but we might not even be in alignment then, because the Noumena within these expressions, of all the entities and the context that we're coming from is different. So there might be hidden aspects as well that may or may not be abstractable, that also influence our understanding and thus where we stand, vis-a-vis alignment. So this is, true alignment may not always be possible. We may never have 100% like full alignment. We might, but we can get better alignment, and we can have worse alignment or better alignment. So kind of a goal of existence laying is to pursue ontological alignment, I would say, via abstraction and being able to also abstract out the patterns of each term in the ontology, each abstraction in an ontology across different scopes, different contexts and domains, different domains and contexts. That's context. So you have your domain, you have your scope, build your context, and the pattern of the term should still apply. The term still means something across many different domains, but it's really the pattern and how it relates to other entities in the ontology. That's kind of what is also interesting, and that's what we also want to express within existence lang, the existence ontology, and also very derivations of the existence ontology. And then that way we can get human agent alignment too, and we can also ask the agent, like I did in some previous videos, to express what it means by the different entities, how it defines different entities in the using the existence lang framework to see how aligned we are or not. So I'm going to say so read through tasks. I think this is, put this under recruit, but this is really under professional. Let me move it actually. So I'm going to show you yeah, so right now it creates a new agent doc creates a new Claude session whenever I moved it. So that is, I think that's okay. It's kind of like I want agent doc to just kind of work regardless of how long the sessions are, how much context is in the window, all that. Or if it's a fresh one, I kind of just want it to work fairly consistently. Note the insights gained on, maybe I'll so I'm going to say note the insights gained on Pneuma, Noumena, phenomena, vague precision, precise precision, I don't know if there's any other things to note here. Bounded, I say bounded scope, and I'll say update existence lang ontology with these insights. Also, or I would say cross-reference and update. Also make Takeda philosophy a dependency dependent on existence lang ontology. All right, so this is going to be a long one. So I don't know, maybe I should, well, let's see how this goes. I want to probably end the session soon, but I guess it would be good to get our pending stuff done. So I think, I don't know what version we're on right now. Let me see what version we're on. 0.27.4. So maybe we should make this 0.28. Well, let me just remove that. I'm not really sure what we've committed. Okay, so from pending, I have done a couple, I have done several releases have occurred. What is the current status of this session? I think we already have an install script that was added. I don't know if we have a homebrew though. I think that's something that I should probably also do. I think this is like another hole, which is I have many, let's say I have many documents and I'm running sessions across different documents, and let's say I add a feature or do some bug fixes. This whole thing, this entire space of documents should basically be a database, and everything should keep each other in sync. So I would say given that I have done work on agent doc in other documents, this document should have been kept in sync using agent doc, using the agent doc binary plus skill md. Please propose a set of features, a feature set to keep agent docs of related topics in sync with each other. Okay. All right, so we have our interface node location. Agreed interface belongs in existence laying ontology source, not in Bitsukita philosophy. The ontology repo is the canonical source for fundamental terms. I'll move it there. Existence CLI instability. Good news, cargo install existence already works. It's published. For other items, installability, sorry. Pre-built binaries, curl, shell. This follows the same patterns as agent doc releases. We'd add a GitHub actions release workflow to existence laying existence that builds Linux, x86, Mac OS, all the Mac OSs and Windows. Okay, onto a tag push, then attach them to a GitHub release. The curl shell installer would detect platform and download the right binary. SkillMD in the existence crate. Currently, the skill lives at Cloud Skills existence in agent loop. To make it self-contained, we bundle it in the existence crate and add exist skill install, the same pattern as agent doc skill install. The agent kit crate already provides skill config for this exact use case. Regarding exist naming, acknowledged, we'll refer to existence crate as exists going forward, matching the CLI alias. Agent harness auto detection. Great question. You already have this. The agent kit crate already implements multi-harness detection. Oh, cool. Right, I got agent kit. Awesome. Okay. So environment detect returns claude-code, open-code, codecs, or generic. Detection via envars. Claude-code, open-code, codecs, CLI, skill config uses the detected environment for path resolution. Currently, all environments resolve to claude-code skills paths. The roadmap includes per harness path patterns. The exist skill install would use agent kit to detect the harness and install to the right location. No new crate needed. Agent kit is exactly this. For future harnesses, pi, etc., you'd add detection logic to agent kit source detect. Okay, great. I think Corky or I would say do all of my submodule Rust crates in source use agent kit. Um, I would say do all of my applicable. I mean, I should say applicable. Okay. Um, all right. So beats key to philosophy. So I just want to make sure that I'm using agent kit wherever I need to use it. Maybe I should mention that too. I want to make sure that agent kit is used wherever it is helpful. Okay, so Beats-Kit philosophy versus existence laying ontology. Meta answer. I wrote into Beats-Kit philosophy because earlier in the session I treated it as an active ontology workspace. That was wrong. Existence laying ontology is canonical source for fundamental terms, and Beats-Kit philosophy should be a consumer overlay, not the authoring location. The correct relationship is existence laying ontology, canonical source for all fundamental ontology terms, 114 nodes, 3 rings, which, okay, I'm not, it seems a little light, but okay. Beats-Kit philosophy, personal philosophy repo that depends on existence laying ontology for its foundation, adding personal philosophical extensions, Claude philosophy, installed context that loads ring 0 kernel terms into every Claude session. Okay. I guess that's okay. I'm a little hesitant because I know people like their things to be lightweight. But it is also good to have the framing there. So let's just roll with it, I guess. All right, to make Beats-Kit philosophy dependent on existence-laying ontology and existence-laying ontology as it gets submodule within Beats-Kit philosophy, then do I want it as a Git submodule? So is existence laying ontology, what is this? What exactly is this? All right, so it's not, I guess it can be a submodule, excuse me. Sure. So, okay. I guess we'll just have it be a submodule. I kind of wish there was like a way of having like a package system, but I don't know if that's possible with just the markdown repository. You need like some sort of either a runtime or build system to do that, which I'm not sure if I want to. I mean, I could make this a Rust project, but there's no need for Rust right now. It's purely informational. All right. So maybe I should express that desire. So I want to use, or I would rather I would rather use a package system than Git submodules. I guess the reason why is Git submodules can sometimes be a pain in the butt because the things are out of sync. Primarily, but maybe that's okay. Maybe I should just ask. Are there any alternative package systems that can be used for Beats-Kit philosophy? To depend on existence laying ontology. Note these repos are markdown. That the source of these repos are markdown, not a runtime or not a runtime or binary programming language. All right, so the John Castle session produced rich refinements that should be canonized in existence-laying ontology. The new terms to author: Pneuma, the totality, both the known and unknown, seen and unseen, the vital breath pervading all of existence, and existence-laying existence itself as the universal set. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, yep. The Noumena, the unseen aspects of reality, two kinds, structurally unabstractable, permanently in the Pneuma. No abstraction captures them. I don't know why it said permanently in the Pneuma. I mean, yes, that's true, but how, like, its placement kind of makes me a little suspicious that it is kind of, that there might be a little bit of a drift here. But I'll ask about it. But permanently in the Pneuma, no abstraction captures them, or two, so that's the structurally unabstractable, or two, contingently unattended. Currently Noumena, but potentially abstractable through further attention. And the phenomena, the seen and expressible, well, we observe, abstract, and communicate the portion of Pneuma brought into expression. So I'm going to say permanently Pneuma. So why did you express that in the I mean it is by definition within the Pneuma. Why did you feel the need to express that it is permanently in the Pneuma? All right, so existing terms to update. Precision MD or new. I don't, wait, or new. Okay, I don't know what that means. Precision communicates possibility space. I wouldn't say it does exactly, but let's think about that a little bit more. Vague precision equals abstraction with full possibility space encompasses Pneuma. Precise precision, abstraction with smaller possibility space. Both are accurate on their level. Ontology always operates through abstraction, never raw Pneuma. That's true. So, but my contention is, does precision communicate possibility space? I mean, in some ways it does, perhaps. But it's like the vague precision, abstraction with full possibility space encompasses Noumena. Precise precision, I mean, they both do. I mean, I'm a little, I think we gotta work on this a bit. Okay, let me go through scope and then we'll work on precision. Scope. Scope and resolution trade-off, bounded information systems, but not unbounded ones. Creative systems where information grows are often unbounded. Oh yeah, that was another distinction I had also in here, was actually I wanted to talk about this in more detail. So let me see. So this is actually something that John Castle wrote about too, unbounded reasoning principle. Reasoning about factor concentration without knowing each factor. So he has something on here. The methodological unboundedness and limited discovery process. But so yes, for sure. The non-parametric Bayesian approach, reasoning about infinite unknown factors, directly connects with the design theory work of unbounded discovery. Okay, so, but I want to get into exactly what we meant by. So there is. I had something about resolution and how precision and resolution were connected to each other, but only in bounded systems. So, if I think there was an assertion made here somewhere where Claude proposed an assertion that as you become more precise, you also increase the resolution and the scope decreases. And that these are all like related things. And like in a bounded system, like a attention space or a camera, like a lens, that is true. But you could still have full fidelity detail in an unbounded, and widen the scope in an unbounded system, and that would be like a creative endeavor, a creative system where, let's say you're creating, let's say a work of art, a painting, and let's say, aside from the canvas being your bounded space, let's say that this is in relation to the actual paint itself put onto the canvas. As you paint, as you expand into the rest of the blank canvas, you're still preserving all the detail, in what you've already done. You don't lose detail. But as you're adding to the painting, then you're increasing the scope, but maintaining the same level of detail, or even increasing it as you iterate. So that's, of course, within reason, because we're ultimately bounded by the canvas. But it could be software too, where as you add more software, then, the detail is still there, but in what you've already done. But unless you do some refactoring, then you're just moving around the complexity, or deleting code. But let's say you're adding code and adding features, then yeah, the detail is still there, and you're kind of expanding the scope. Even then you're in a bounded space by the amount of disk space you have, but people usually don't write programs so large as to take up all their disk space. So that's effectively, we're really bounded by time and energy, and maybe money, or the ability to put effort into something. And with AI, that has changed a lot. The bounded system has expanded a lot, because we can now create software quickly and use corpus of human knowledge. All right. So, anyways, I guess I talk about it here somewhere. I don't know if let's see. Maybe we'll have it in detail. The resolution. So manages resolution. So. Okay, so this is, I think, where it made. Okay, I narrowed the attention visibility, which is only one dimension. Let's restate full picture. Utility. Okay, so I think this is where it kind of made the assertion that the bounded case assertion. Right. So this is precision control. Yeah, and that's it. Yep. Okay, so this is where I kind of prompted where. Note that the resolution can be high even for larger scopes. We often have a scope and resolution trade-off with each other in systems where information is bounded. So a trade-off exists, but when the information is unbounded, scope can increase or decrease without affecting the resolution. So scope and resolution are mutually exclusive in many but not all systems. All right, so attention is a result, not the utility. Elaboration. The utility of existence laying is the ontology itself, a set of terms that accurately abstract any entity within a bounding scope with expressible precision and pattern relationships. This is structural. It exists whether or not anyone applies it. When you apply the ontology to a specific system, permaculture, software, and organization, several things happen as a consequence. Certain dimensions of entities come into attention while others backgrounded. This is kind of like the attention scope. Not necessarily, right? And I reply, not necessarily. What you are describing is a bounded attention, which limits the information that can be attended to in any given moment. The ontology itself is often unbounded, so the full set of entities are expressed across all attention entities. Okay, so I'm also like considering the attention framing itself, or the the context of the attention as an entity itself, because it basically everything is in an entity in the abstract form. In its abstract form. So misalignment between participants becomes visible, a result of having shared terms. Iteration becomes productive because there's a shared frame to converge on, a result of accurate abstraction. So what becomes visible is what happens when you use the ontology. It's the experience of applying it. But the utility is the ontology's capacity to accurately abstract entities at any precision within any bounding scope. The capacity exists prior to any particular application. Attention is what the user experiences. Utility is what the framework provides. So what becomes visible is what happens when you use the ontology. So this sounds like Pneuma and phenomena. Looks like I spelled it wrong. Where phenomena is the abstraction of the Pneuma, and the ontology is the abstraction of the Pneuma of existence. Analogy: the utility of a microscope in its optical system, lenses, resolution, capacity. What becomes visible when you look through it is the result of that utility, not the utility itself. Okay. All right, I think I wrote that. All right, correction accepted. Existence as universal set. Everything existence was imprecise. Everything is in existence was imprecise, right? Existence is the universal set, which includes itself. It's self-referential, not just a container, but a member of itself. This is a meaningful distinction. Existence is an entity in existence. Precision communicates possibility space, both vague and precise. I treated vague and precise as absolutes. They're relative. Both express precision at different magnitudes. A vague definition has a larger possibility space, larger scope. I mean, again, that's kind of where I well, I guess that's okay. Yeah. I mean, relative, yes. Relative to a precise definition has a smaller possibility space, narrower scope. Both are accurate at their level of precision. Scope and resolution relationships. In bounded information systems, scope and resolution trade off. Wider scope, lower resolution. For finite information is spread thinner. This is the common case, not necessarily. This is my annotation. Not necessarily the common case in creative systems where information grows with creative activity. The system over time is often unbounded. In unbounded, I guess there's a steady state that can occur too. So maybe we can also consider steady state. I guess the opposite is dynamic state versus steady state in a creative system. I mean, I guess when it becomes in steady state, you know, perhaps, or in the life cycle of a creative system. So this kind of also assumes a beginning and an end, maybe an eschatology, or it could be a cyclical eschatology. You know, in a creative system, whether it's defined, whether it's eschatology has a defined beginning. It's doing this externally modified crap. I gotta fix that. So whether it's eschatology has a defined beginning / end or is cyclical, or has a cyclical. I want to make sure that eschatology is not just like the, by definition, beginning and end. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so maybe I'll process this to in unbounded systems, scope can increase or decrease without affecting resolution, no trade-off. Therefore, scope and resolution are mutually exclusive in many but not all systems. They are not inherently coupled. The coupling depends on whether information is bounded. Okay. So this is important for the link. Okay, so this is just relating to my message. So I wonder if I should. So you see, I'm like I'm trying to draft the message, but you know, I'm also commingling it a lot with existence laying, and this is kind of like the messy process of discovery too, which is you're just gonna have to accept some commingling. I think like it's really hard to keep everything. I mean, I could have been like keeping things separate, and maybe if I had put effort into keeping these discussions separate, this sort of iteration that we're doing right now may have been a little bit cleaner, but it's still okay because I mean with agent doc it's still okay. So I can say at the bottom, please move the discussion on existence laying into existence laying or something like that, which I think we should do. Do I call it existence MD? Maybe I call it existence MD. Yeah. All right, so I'll move this into software. All right, so let's continue with this, but I'm gonna at the bottom, I'm gonna put please move the existence I gotta like tasks has some external modification y. Okay. I would say please move the exist conversation into task software existence MD. Okay. I would say. All right, so I'm going to move this first. I have there's actually a command called transfer. So please transfer. Just to kind of be clear. All right, so this is going to be kind of complicated, but this is actually a good test of this feature. And I should probably end it here because, yeah, otherwise I'm going to have like another series. This is starting to get long. So, all right. So it accepted the bounded attention. I was describing the attention as if it must background some dimensions. That's only true when the attention is unbounded. When it's bounded, finite information per moment, but the ontology itself is unbounded. The full set of entities is expressed across all attention entities. Nothing is necessarily backgrounded in the ontology, only in particular bounded application of it. That backgrounding is a property of the observer's bounded attention, not in the ontology. Okay, right. The Pneuma and phenomena. Yes, this maps precisely in Stoic philosophy. Pneuma is the vital breath that pervades all of existence. Phenomena are the abstractions we form of what we observe. The ontology is the abstraction of the pneuma of existence. It formalizes the structure of what pervades everything, making it expressible and communicatable. The utility of the ontology is this formalization itself. What any particular observer experiences when they apply it, the phenomena they attend to, is bounded by their attention, but the pneuma and its abstraction in the ontology is unbounded. So I said we should think of noumena. Am I correct in that noumena is defined as the unknown aspects of the thing in itself? In this case, the pneuma is both the known and the unknown. If I can spell that right. The seen and unseen, which is what I mean. The phenomena is the seen and expressible, which can be abstracted. This is a better framing than the microscope analogy. The microscope constrains what you can see, bounded optics. The ontology doesn't constrain, it expresses. The pneuma phenomena distinction captures this more accurately. So this is kind of where, in this case, with the agents, there was some, divergence. There was some drift of alignment. So I think this is kind of where philosophy can become really good at, especially, applied philosophy, and I'm using existence laying, can be good at sort of bridging this drift on a very, I would say, like it's like a component level of each abstraction. So if we the less drift there is, the more human agent alignment there is, and as we type stuff, it's going to do what we want it to do. Okay, so creative systems and boundedness accepted. Staying, and also the other thing as well is that, okay, well, let's say things degrade over time, with agents in particular, as you have like unattended builds or whatever. I think this could also solve that because we have redundancy of meaning everywhere. And as long as like all the whether it's like all the documentation, we have the ontology, we have the software, if everything is using the same words and they all mean the same thing, then we have effectively redundancy. So yes, maybe there's some sort of default factory setting that may come in with the agent, with the with the model, that may be a drift from our system that we're trying to build. But if we keep on reminding it through just repetition or whatever in our documentation, then and in our definitions, then that should help it to stay on track rather than drifting somewhere else and making subtle but ever widening contradictions with our intention. All right, so creative systems and boundedness accepted. Saying bounded information systems are the common case is wrong. Creative systems where information grows through creative activity are often unbounded over time. Permaculture is exactly such a system. The information is a site in the site grows as organisms interact, succeed, fail, and evolve. So is software development, artistic practice, research, conversation. Many of the systems that we care most about are creative, therefore unbounded. The bounded case is a simplification, not the default. But I have my annotation here, which all right. We could also consider dynamic state and steady state in the life cycle of a creative system. Whether its eschatology has a defined beginning end or has a cyclical eschatology. So we have that. I would say that the steady state tends to be bounded, or I don't know if a steady state is always bounded. I would think it would be bounded, right? I mean, a steady state implies the system can be or is bounded, not necessarily true, but often is, but is often a transition from a seemingly unbounded system to a bounded system, to a bounded, more static system. This is seen in cases where, like seen in markets that start off highly creative and innovative, that become a steady state once the market is established. And this is really annoying how this is external edits. I gotta fix that. This is okay. Once the market is established and incumbents or monopolists gatekeep the channels. Thus, creativity dies. That might be a little bit strong, but essentially that's what happens. All right, so updated understanding for the link. Okay, that's just my LinkedIn. So Noumena, yes, largely correct in Kant's framework. The noumena is the thing itself, what exists independent of our perception. It's not strictly unknown, but unknowable through perception alone. So this was kind of like I was discussing this a little bit earlier. We can reason about it. Kant calls this the negative sense of the nomenon, but we can never directly experience it as phenomena. The three-term relationship. Phenomena, the totality, both the known and the unknown, the seen and the unseen. In Stoic terms, the vital breath pervading all of existence. In existence-laying terms, existence itself, the universal set including itself. Noumena, the unseen aspects of reality. What exists is not yet expressed as phenomena. The aspects of an entity that are real but not currently attended to or abstracted. But this could also be what is also unknowable too. I would say the Kantian I'll say that. Maybe we'll call it the Kantian noumena. So we'll have the noumena, which is, maybe like the temporarily unknown, and the Kantian noumena, which is the truly unknowable. And phenomena, the seen and expressible, what we observe, abstract, and communicate, the portion of pneuma that has been brought into expression. The aspects of an entity that are real but not currently attended to or abstracted. Does this statement contradict unknowable through perception alone? Unknowable through perception alone seems to imply that the aspect can never become known. Oh yeah, this is where I'm asking that. So maybe I should just cool it with my edit here. Let's cut this. It's kind of hard, re-annotating things because I already went through this exercise and I'm just kind of like seeing if I missed anything. But all right, so does this statement contradict unknowable through perception alone? Knowable through perception alone seems to imply that the aspect can never be known. The aspects of an entity that are real but not currently attended to abstracted. That's a Kantian definition. Oh no, that's the existence laying. That's what Claude proposed. Seems to express the aspect can be known but is not yet known. So there's a conflict between the Kantian and the Claudian aspects of noumena, of their definitions. So how this maps to existence laying. The ontology abstracts the pneuma. It formalizes the structure of all existence, what is currently attended to and what is not. Any particular application to the ontology, a specific system at a specific precision, produces phenomena, produces phenomena, expresses abstraction of entities. The noumena remain the aspects of reality that exist but haven't been expressed at any given precision. They're still in the ontology's scope because the ontology covers existence, but they're not yet articulated. And then I should also say the Kantian noumena. Aspects of reality that exist that cannot be known. Or measured. So the ontology is unique in that It doesn't choose between Pneuma, Noumena, and phenomena. It provides the framework to express any of them. At vague precision, you express the Pneuma, the abstraction, with the full possibility space in the express system. At precise precision, you express phenomena, the abstraction with a smaller possibility space. The Noumena are what remains unexpressed at any given precision, but they're always expressible because the ontology's scope is existence. See, I'm finding it really difficult to let go of this Kantian Noumena too. I would say yes, you can always wrap an abstraction around it, even if it is Kantian. You can represent it somehow, even if it's just the things, the unknown unknowns. That itself is an abstraction for the noumena, the Kantian noumena. So I would say even the Kantian, that's actually good, noumena can be abstracted as the unknown, unknowable, or the unknown unknowns. And this is kind of like also like Schrodinger's cat experiment can come in, you know, quantum theory and all that of like, yeah, maybe you have like a probability space, or like you have your cat, you know, you don't know if it's dead or alive. You know, that's unknowable, but you have your possibility space. Schrodinger's cat experiment is another case of abstracting Kantian phenomena. All right. This is a much richer framing than anything in the current LinkedIn draft. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All right. All right. So precision, regarding precision as abstraction at all levels, correction accepted, both vague and precise are abstractions. The ontology always operates through abstraction, never raw phenomena. The distinction, vague precision, and abstraction with full possibility space and express of the express system. All right, so I'm just going to, you know, I'm just going to throw all this in the blog post. I think that I've already talked a lot, and I don't think many people are going to watch this. So I'll throw it up there. But really what's interesting is, let's get this moved over. And I think the blog post will do a good job with expressing what we're trying to do. So back here, I'm going to all right, so we already did our round over here. I just need to yeah, I'm definitely going to make an article though. But anyways, I think this is probably a good place to end this. I think really existence lang is important, or is going to have a lot of applicability. I really need to get the evals going too. That's really important. And I want to maybe have a way of visualizing scope and vague precision levels too. Because I think that if there's like a way of somehow visualizing the possibility space and like detecting the precision of language or vagueness of language and maintaining accuracy that way, I think that'd be interesting too. Somehow like having an interface that shows, that kind of shows where it's at. So it's like these subtleties. We want to be able to capture these subtleties, and I think that will help people understand. If somebody's being vague, what's possible in that vagueness. And I think that because what I think that often happens is people want to naturally fill in the blanks, and they want to have precision even at the cost of accuracy, but then that causes problems because either it's like somebody can use that to their advantage and sort of use vague language but use it to mislead people in when they're obviously thinking something else is going to happen from, there's a different meaning, like a more precise meaning, but also to help people to not fool themselves, or to even somebody who's talking, you can kind of tell where their mind is at, like how they're thinking about something, and if they're gonna, whether or not they're gonna completely miss certain insights or certain, like, whether or not, yeah. So I think this is all good stuff, and if we can express all this, then in a then I think that really helps. So okay, oh cool, so we got our first little batch here while drafting. Okay, so we got alignment corrections. So this is good. We got a table of alignment corrections. Maybe we can use this to really really hone in on, like, getting alignment with our harness. We have key insights, and we have pending changes identified. I guess I should make a pending section. All right, let me run this agent doc side now, and this will also include transferring over to and maybe we can also address this pesky issue with this external modification. It's been a little annoying. I think I've had like several fixes to different things, but something might have been missed. Which, by the way, I would consider this alignment drift as well, in that it should detect, basically how the system is constructed and whether or not it would cause these external modifications, and then kind of iterate until we solve it, or at least it thinks it's solved, and then we can try again. Oh, we got a lot of stuff here. So yeah, that's quite a big list of pendings. So let me go into here, and I want to make this the same format. All right, so current status has been tracked. All right. These came from separate agent doc sessions running in John Castle, 2 commits. That's normal agent doc behavior. Each document has its own session, but they commit independently. I think I missed what I said, so I'm gonna have to. I think it has to do with like old sessions somehow. I'll have to figure that out. So cross-document sync feature. Okay, let me see. So these external modifications happened as I was typing inside of nothing, the what's it called, the Claude session was idle and no agent doc command was running. The external modifications should not have happened. All right, so cross-document sync feature. This is a real gap. Currently, each agent doc session is isolated. There's no mechanism for one document to be aware of changes in a related document. Currently, each agent doc session is isolated. There's no mechanism for one document to be aware of changes in a related document. Okay, all right. This is like how we sync things up. So document links declarative. In front matter, declare related documents. Interesting. The pre-flight step would check related documents for changes since the last cycle to include a summary of diff output, existence MD, and 3 commits since your last cycle. Topic extraction, cross-posting. When, this is the second option, when a topic is in document A is more relevant to document B, the agent can use agent doc post target doc content to inject summary into the target's exchange component. The target document picks it up in its next cycle. That could be good. 3, shared pending component. Multiple documents could reference a shared pending list. Okay. I guess that's in the agent doc config directory. Changes to the shared pending propagate to all documents that reference it. Okay. 4, session graph, lightweight. Agent doc status already shows active sessions. Extending to show topic overlap between sessions could help identify when topics need syncing. The simplest starting point is 1, I agree. Document links with change detection and pre-flight. Yes, I would say yes. I also want to make sure that we readily decouple documents once they are no longer connected. Can we make our skill or agent doc? Let's do that. So both, I would say both couple and decouple documents, or I would say both link and unlink. Or should we make the user, the human, entirely responsible? All right, so transfer existence conversation, this task software existence. Task software existence already exists as a template document within the existence link overview. The ontology authoring work, Noumena, phenomena, precision, scope, and dependency restructuring, philosophy, existence link ontology should move there. I'll note this in the pending list. The actual transfer should happen via that document session. Oh, okay. All right, so researching using agent kit. So yeah, I want to move all this stuff over there. There's just too much. This is all an agent doc right now, so I want to separate out the existence laying into where it belongs. I want to migrate it over. So alternative package systems for markdown repos. So we're pure markdown, traditional package managers don't fit. So git submodule, existence fetch, already built. The existence CLI has a fetch command that clones ontology repos. Oh, okay. Philosophy could declare its dependency. Yes, let's do that. I think that's yes. Do be permanently in the Pneuma. So I would say, how do we do updates? How do we have updates? How do we check for updates? How do we check for and apply updates? How do we ensure? How do we, if we update, how do we know what changes, definition changes have occurred? Permanently in Pneuma, you're right. That's redundant. I said that's retarded. That's redundant. Everything is within the Pneuma by definition. Pneuma existence universal set. Saying permanently in Pneuma implies something could leave the Pneuma, which contradicts the definition. The definition distinction I was trying to make is between two kinds of Noumena: structurally unabstractable. No abstraction at any precision can fully capture them. The map can never be the territory, or contingently unattended, not yet abstracted yet, but could be through further attention. I would say, we can abstract it, but it's not a very good descriptive abstraction. So I would say we can always abstract the unknowable as the unknowable. Aspects, or I would say as the Noumena of the entity, but it's not very descriptive. But it's not descriptive. So maybe we should. So what does it mean then? Ugh. So if we can abstract it as Noumena, but it's not descriptive, but our definition is that Noumena is the unabstractable, but we just abstracted it, and then we have a transcendental error here. So this is a transcendental error or transcendental contradiction. We need to correctly define or scope the unknowable to scope what Noumena means. It is abstractable, but but the abstraction has no description other than unknowable, unknown. All right. because you can also have different types of unknowns too, and there is some information in there. So it's kind of like your null byte here. This is like a null value. I would say, is this to a null value, to the semantics of a null value? So is this analogous to the semantics of a null value? It could be. All right, so which would be nice in some ways. Then we have a direct analogy. Contiguously unattended, not yet abstracted, but could be through further attention. So I think we'll let our abstraction distinction stand over here. All right, so the first kind remains Noumena regardless of effort. The second kind can become phenomena. Neither leads to Pneuma. The framing was wrong. I'll correct this with the authoring. So here's I want to point this out. Even though we didn't have Noumena, the definition completely correct, we can still use it as in the pattern language. You know, it's a placeholder essentially, and it might have been like incorrectly defined at the time, but it's still a placeholder, and its place still applies. And then we can iterate to correct its definition, and its place still remains the same in the system. All right, so it's kind of like how like Moses. Some people say that Moses wasn't a real person, but Moses was a title, or Moses was a real person, but Moses was a title rather than a actual name of a person in a sense. You know, like Moses didn't grow up to be Moses. You know, like he wasn't born Moses. He was somebody else, but then became Moses. You know, but that's I don't know how true or not that is, but assuming that is true, that would be the distinction. Or Pharaoh, I guess, would be the other thing. So, you know, nobody is born Pharaoh. They become Pharaoh. All right, the first kind remains Pneuma. Okay, so AgentKit usage across crates. Audit complete. Here are current state. Currently using, so agent doc, Corky, and Webmaster. Oh, I have Webmaster too. Oh, okay. So I use Webmaster for my SEO type stuff, and I put a lot of stuff into Corky, and I should probably yeah, I might need to rebalance my packages a little bit, but for now. All right, so we should put AgentKit into Chromium Bridge and tag path. Okay, and could use AgentKit if SkillMD added in existence in module harness. Yeah, so tmux router agent resume eval runner. I would say module harness, yes. tmux router, no. Agent resume, say yes. This is just my resume builder. Eval runner, yes. That's like a hell yes. All right. I would say tmux router, no. Let's say this is more used as a library by agent doc. All right, so okay. Lazily creates no skill management needed. Instruction files, lazily rs, AgentKit. Yeah, it's basically If it's like a library, probably don't need a skill. It's more of if it's an endpoint, if it's like has an interface of some type, like a CLI or a web interface. Architectural note: agent kits, environment skill path is environment aware but not Git aware. Both AgentDoc and Chromium Bridge implement their own super project detection for monorepo placement. This could be upstreamed in the agent kit to benefit all consumers. Okay. Okay, good. Yes. All right. I would say that if we do the linking, it would be cool because then we can start to extract out agent docs. Like, let's say we have this huge like bill of work over here across different projects, and these could all be put in, we could just have a link, we could transfer different tasks to different documents and then link them all together, link them, the relevant ones together, and then we can even run them independently too. So, because they're all working in different parts of the code base. All right, so all right, command was okay. So this is a real bug, right? This is the externally modified issue. Should not have been modified. I mean, okay, so either a stash tmux pane was still active. The O20, the V. Oh, right. So we did do something where we moved it. So I moved tasks recruits John Castle MD to tasks professional John Castle MD. Is the old recruit session still hanging around? How do we mitigate these issues? I mean, I don't think it should have like, if it was still around though, why would it, it's a different path. So like, could this have affected the behavior? All right, so linking unlinking, hybrid. The agent proposes links and unlinks, the human approves. Okay. During a session, when the agent detects topic overlap with another document, it proposes adding the front matter related docs. The user approves the skill. MD preflight would then check the link docs and changes and incoming summaries, unlinking each preflight cycle. If a link document hasn't had relevant changes in end cycles, configurable. Okay, that's a good idea. The agent proposes removing the link, or the user can manually remove it from front matter. This keeps the human control while leveraging the agent's ability to detect connections. Okay, so I would say that so in this document, I want to transfer work to other documents. When I transfer the work, we may want to link the documents together. All right, so existence fetch for fetch detection after, for change detection after fetch, existence fetch check. Okay, that's new. That'll be a new thing. Fetches and reports what changed, new terms, modified terms, remove terms, uses get diff to null new head. Existence diff shows the difference between local and remote. Okay. Existence lint after, oh, okay, that's good. Validates the updated ontology, passes all checks. All right, so yes to all. The Noumena and the NULL analogy. Insightful correction. You're right. We can abstract the unknowable. The abstraction is just the noumena itself. The word is the abstraction, but it carries no descriptive content beyond unknown aspects exist. The null analogy is apt. Null in database value exists, but is not known. A placeholder acknowledges presence without description. Noumena is equal to aspects exist but are not abstractable into descriptive phenomena, a semantic placeholder. Okay. Both are valid abstractions in the type system and ontology, but carry no content. Both distinguish unknown from doesn't exist. Null does not equal empty. Noumena does not equal non-existence. Okay. That's good. The transcendental contradiction resolved. Noumena is abstractable as the concept noumena. What's unabstractable is the content of the noumena. The abstraction noumena is a content-free pointer to the unknowable, just as null is a content-free pointer to an unknown value. Both are maximally vague. They encompass the full possibility space of what they point to without narrowing it. Okay. That's good. So this is another good thing about existence language, or basic language in general, is you can use the power of analogy to sort of create like a generative meaning algorithm for one system to another. So you can use, terms like the language itself are analogies. The abstractions themselves are analogies. So when they're used across different systems, there's an analogy of what it is exactly in the context of that system based off of what's known about how this abstraction applies to entities in other systems. So that's kind of a superpower that humans have with our language, and I guess now agents also have this superpower too, to where we can apply analogies across different systems and sort of use what we've learned from one place to another place. And this is also where systems theory comes in too. So I'm going to mention that as well, because I think that anytime we add to this, I think we're creating a richer, template. So I would say this is note how this power of analogy and I forgot the other word I was using. So the power of analogy and maybe let's stick with analogy because I forgot what else I said. So note the power of analogy when of how an entity acts in one system or the relationship. So note that analogy applies I would say note that analogy transmits the pattern or applies the pattern of how an entity in relation to other entities in one domain apply to other domains. Okay. How an abstraction, I'll say word, or how a word, I'll put abstraction in relation to other words in one domain also apply to other domains. um, both in essential, commonly essential components, you know, let's say with their commonly essential components. I don't know if that's useful. I'll just leave it, and if Claude gets it, it'll get it. If not, it'll say something and I'll correct it. Okay, so the two kinds aren't abstractable versus unabstractable. They're content-free Noumena, abstractable only as unknown, null-like. The content is structurally inaccessible to phenomena, or contingently unattended, abstractable within content once attention is applied. Oh, that's cool. Currently null but resolvable. I like that. All right, so we got our agent kit assessments confirmed. Okay, so all right, let's just keep on going. Yeah, this is a big list here. So effectively, we're kind of going through a planning phase right now, an iterative planning phase. And that's also like another thing what I like about Agent Doc and why I'm doing it this way is, you know, so there's a lot of these systems out right now which are they have very distinct steps, and you get like these pipelines and all that, and they're all well and good, and I'm sure that they're useful, but I think that just being able to have a space to iterate on your own terms and to on the fly create your plan and to iterate towards a definition or a spec is very important too. And that was definitely like seemed like it was a missing aspect. um, and I'm not saying that, you know, all these sort of frameworks and pipelines don't have their place. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them do, but I think that they're also, because they're pipelines, they're also very fragile and subject to change and churn, which I'm sure will happen, especially as the models change and the underlying harnesses change. So I want to build something that's not on quicksand, something that's a little bit more like has like a solid interactive component to it. And you know, somebody else might build something similar, but so far I haven't really seen it. Like, people are definitely writing markdown documents, and they have been for a while, having the agents send markdown documents, but they're still interacting with the text box, which you can do, but I think that the interactive component is a little bit better because it brings a little bit more control into, like, you know, being able to inline things in the document. You can control how many you know, how often you know, you can basically have more in each run versus like having to do multiple runs for each like little annotation, which I think quickly would become chaotic. So sometimes you want to defer saying anything until you're ready to, until you have like a complete coherent like way of addressing multiple things. And this is also in our correspondence too, is you don't want to always chat everything in your discussion. Sometimes topics are very complex, and it's better to A, think about it for a while, and B, to just send back a response that is more comprehensive, in that less chaos occurs, because you know the opportunity to sort of diverge based to different threads goes down, as well as just, you know, you can kind of address things in a more controlled fashion, you know, and then the correspondence can happen in a little bit more of a controlled way, which it could be a reason why, for example, like manners have changed. Like when we used to just write correspond by letter, you know, we would send several pages of letters each time, and things would be well thought out. You'd think about it for a day or two or whatever, as you write your letter. The process of writing the letter takes time and all that. So, these are all things that maybe we can, we don't need to have instantaneous communication for everything, So like like the brain chip, let's say we have a brain chip, and maybe you don't want to always have that bidirectional neural communication, because there's going to be a lot of disadvantages to that, because sometimes time needs to pass and circumstances need to happen, and before we really send something out. So you definitely need to have periods where things happen in the right order. I don't think there's really any getting around that, and that's where the human in the loop design, where the humans can decide where exactly they want to be in the loop, is important to agentic workflows. All right. All right, so the rename likely caused this. Okay. Caused the external modification. The sync system detects when a registered file no longer exists in the pane but is showing a different path. It kills the stale pane and registers the new path. However, the rescue logic may have retrieved the stash pane that was still pointing to the old path, causing it to trigger a session on the new path. Okay, so cool. I'm glad we found that. So, mitigation option. Snapshot path tracking. When a file is renamed, the snapshot keyed by SHA-56 canonical path becomes orphaned. The new path generates a new snapshot key, so the next cycle sees the entire file as new in response to everything. Fix. Add a rename command that migrates the snapshot. Okay. Rename detection in pre-flight. If pre-flight detects a snapshot is missing, but the snapshot is for a similar file name exists, fuzzy match. Okay. Warn instead of treating the whole file as new content. Okay. Session B3, session lock. Before writing a document, check if any claude-code session currently has it open. If the file is being edited by the user and no agent doc was invoked, don't write. Okay, so yeah. Recommendation is option 1 and 3, which is the snapshot path tracking and snapshot lock, session lock, which I agree with. Okay, yes, implement. Domain transfer and linking, yes, understood. When you transfer objects from this document to test software existence or other docs, we can link them via related docs front matter. The transfer work will be indicate which topics to transfer I propose based on topic analysis. I write a summary to the target's document exchange. Both documents get linked in related docs. Future cycles on either doc show changes from the linked doc. Okay, so this keeps the conversation continuous across documents while letting each document focus on its domain. Okay, yes. I guess I should also implement. I don't know. Or this will just be the to-do. Analogy as a cross-domain pattern application. Yes, this is exactly how pattern works in the ontology. An analogy is a pattern recognized across domains. A structural relationship between abstractions in one domain maps to the same structural relationship in another. NULL database, Noumena ontology become the relationship. Content-free pointer to unknown is the pattern. And it transfers across the database and philosophy domains. Awesome. This is also why the ontology is useful for AI. Ooh. Patterns expressed at the right level of abstraction, vague enough to transfer, precise enough to be meaningful, become reusable across any domain. The ontology provides a vocabulary for expressing these transferable patterns. I'm going to also say and systems language or systems theory is a large field of study that encompasses the analogy pattern. Perhaps we should consider investigating the corpus, the available corpus of systems theory. Transfer this task to another, I would say, I don't know what to call it, man. Like, I have like professional software, but I have these like topics too, which like systems theory. Like, maybe I'll call it research. Let's see if it will create a directory for me. Oh wow, I pinned this. Let me unpin this. To tasks, research, systems theory. We'll make it research for now, but it's going to definitely do stuff. It's going to be applied to things. All right, I think this is probably pretty good. There is quite a few insights we got from this session. I'll make a blog post, and maybe I'll just follow up with like another video, like, and blog posts right afterwards, just for all this other stuff. But I think we should break it off here. Maybe I don't think I'm going to bother doing a series. I think that we'll just have 2 standalone episodes probably. But yeah, we got a lot on our plate coming up. So yep, thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you're doing well. And I'm definitely going to cover a lot of stuff. We got some really interesting things going on. All right, peace out.